Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone Puzzle Method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. I am so excited about today's guest, Esther Blum. She's an integrative dietitian and high-performance health coach. She has helped thousands of women permanently balance hormones and lose stubborn belly fat by treating the root cause of their health struggles. Esther is a bestselling author of Cavewomen Don't Get Fat, Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous, Secrets of Gorgeous, and the Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous Project. She currently maintains a busy virtual practice where she provides 360 degrees of healing with physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual support. Esther believes that diet and supplements are the foundation to healing, but treating the whole person is paramount. This show is all about getting to the root cause of your infertility and why that is so important, and why Western medicine is missing this key component of fertility and overall health. So without further ado, let's welcome Esther to the show. Hey, Esther, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kayla, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to talk today. So
me too.
Awesome. Let's jump right in. So tell me a little more about you, kind of how you started working in women's health and with hormones.
Yeah, well, the journey, I was a clinical dietitian in hospitals for 5 years. I'm really seeing the sickest of the sick, and worked in cardiology units and had people who are, intubated. I was doing tube feedings and IV feedings. And then when they woke up post-operatively, I had like 10 minutes to give them diet instructions. So I really wanted to make more of an impact. And so I went into functional medicine, got trained in that, worked for a functional medicine doctor, and then went off on my own. And so how I got into women's health was just by default. It was who was walking into my office, and my clients have really aged with me. But when I wrote my first book, Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous, that was like 15 years of nutrition practice put into play. And it was women, young women going through PMS and horrible hormone imbalances, a lot of a high stress lifestyle, right? Lots of booze, lots of caffeine, too many carbs, not enough protein. And then as I aged and had my son, then women started coming to me for fertility, right?
Yeah.
And saying, how do I balance my hormones? Now I'm 51. People are coming to me for perimenopause and menopause. But I absolutely love it because women we're still so horribly gaslit in the medical industry. Our concerns are dismissed. Doctors tell us we're normal. And to me, when a doctor says that and doesn't address your concerns or listen to you, it just means that it's what they see all the time and they're not going to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. But normal is not the same as optimal. So I have become a relentless advocate for my patients who are, and men too. I have plenty of men in my practice who are also struggling to get their doctors to listen to them. So I really, either work with the doctor's office and call them myself or call the insurance companies and fight. And if that doesn't work, I just refer people to a new doctor, a functional medicine doctor, because what you do pay in money, you will save in time and frustration and energy. And energy is a real currency and will impact your hormones. It will impact your sleep. It will impact your skin. And certainly, your monthly cycles. So I really try to take off people's plates what I possibly can.
I love that. And you talk about one thing that is the main thing that women are struggling with right now. So what would you say that one health issue is?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not what you think it is. It's stress and very poor balance. It's not, hormone imbalances are at the other end of that spectrum, but that's where it starts. And I see it, younger women are going through it, trying to balance the needs of the job and their life. And then as we age, you try and balance the needs of your job and or your family. And then as you're like my age, you're trying to balance the needs of aging parents, running a business, having a teenage child, and and having a husband who's going to go back to commuting now that COVID is kind of stabilized, I guess. So it's all of those things. And so if you don't learn to manage and delegate as best you can, your health, your hormones will really suffer. I believe that is, and it is, I do see it in men too, but I think the lack of balance is really problematic. And the people not unplugging from their phones at night, unless my mom is in the hospital, my phone is off at 8 p.m. It's just that simple. I'm not reachable, right?
Yep.
No, you don't need to check Instagram after 8 p.m. Nothing good happens after 8. You don't need the news cycle. You don't need to send silly memes and tags to friends. You really don't. And so trying to just unplug and say no and making a to-don't list is really more imperative than ever, especially as our work schedules blend and bleed into our home lives. You've really got to create a framework. And I'm blessed to have, an office, a separate room in my house where I work. But believe me, I do not set foot in here on a weekend. I can't do it. I'm like, no.
Yes. I love it. Just those healthy boundaries are so important. And I find too, it's almost like we're expected to check our phones the minute you get a message, you're replying back. And I'm like, how did we train ourselves to be like this? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. And we've developed, adult ADD. It's we're short circuiting our brain and our nervous system all the time. So, and I'm just as guilty as the next person. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it all. I definitely check and respond to things quick, because when I don't, then especially with my clients, if I don't, then they get lost and then I forget to do something, and that we can't have that. So it is, but I'll check like a maniac during the day, but then at night it's off. So that's kind of how I balance it out.
I love it. And you talk about root cause. I talk about that in my practice. It's so important to not treat the symptom, but really look at why that symptom is happening in the first place and look at that root. So can you talk about that? Why is that so important? And why do you think the Western medical doctors are not starting with root cause?
Yeah, well, I think physicians have changed a lot since the 1800s. You can go to a doctor's office now and not have anyone physically touch you or examine you. Maybe a nurse will take your blood pressure, but then you usually just talk to the doctor, but they're not examining you. And physical touch is so important. And it's important in diagnosing people too. So I'm sorry, what was your original question? I apologize.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so important to look at the roots instead of just treating the symptom? Yeah. Well, and why do you think our doctors aren't doing that?
Yeah, I think it's just not, doctors are not looking at root instead of symptom because they're just not trained that way. Doctors are brilliant. I mean, some of the most brilliant people on the planet, but they're not trained in medical school. Just as when I went through my training, I have a bachelor's and a master's in clinical nutrition, right? Plus I did a clinical internship in a hospital and took board exams. That's a lot of time in school, a lot of years. And I went to school 2 years full time because I transferred from one college to, I transferred from BU to Simmons, right? So I had all the catching up to do. So I was in school a lot, and we weren't trained to look at root cause. We were trained, oh, well, you have a stomach issue, take some antacids, or, drink some bone broth, or if that, whereas in functional medicine, you're taught that the body's a continuum, right? It's like, I always tell my patients, it's like a big rubber band. And so if you have, a great analogy is like, if you're having a pain in your hip, right? You have to look at the structure of your foot and how you're walking and your posture. And it's not really the pain in your back. It could be really referred, or tight hip flexors and glutes. So it's the same with your body. Like if you have, I see people with a lot of gut issues, for example, and it's like, well, is the problem only in the gut? Is it all the antibiotics and coffee and booze you're drinking? Is it a nutrient poor diet? Are you lacking in zinc, which is why you have reflux? Are you even chewing your food? Are you constantly in a sympathetic fight or flight state with your nervous system? Are you even sleeping? So take a step back and really take a wide angle view of what's going on holistically.
For sure. And I try to tell my clients this too, like everything is connected, just because, like you said, you're having hip pain, that doesn't mean it's just your hip that's the issue. It could be many other things. Just like if you're having headaches, a lot of people don't think gut, but it could totally be your gut. So
or depression or anxiety or any of those things.
Yes.
So the other thing is, I was going to say, and I'm so sorry. I've lost my train of thought. So scratch that.
Yeah. So how the gut, everything's connected.
So the other thing I was going to say is, people, are suffering from anxiety. They're suffering from depression. They're suffering from brain fog, and they're taking antidepressants, and I'll do their hormone tests and look at their organic acids, and their dopamine and serotonin are still low, even on antidepressants. So what that means is the gut is still, it's a Band-Aid approach. It enables some people to physically get out of bed who are having severe depression. But if you don't correct the gut issues and the inflammation there, especially in your small intestine, you can't make serotonin, you can't make dopamine, and you will continue to always stay depressed if you don't address diet. And so much of depression, anxiety comes from diet, or comes from unresolved old traumas. Once we clear those out, often my patients are able to wean themselves off antidepressants. I put them on a good amino acid protocol, and they feel no side effects from withdrawal, and they get off. I'm like, you haven't needed this in a long time. So it's really fascinating, like what eating right and sleeping and being very careful with alcohol and drugs can do to a person,
For sure. And I'm assuming this applies to men too. Like it's not just women. The men are the ones also needing to watch what they're eating, how they're sleeping, how they're pooping. So let's talk on that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I just got off. I have a client, Jeff, who I've been working with for quite a while and he's a caregiver for his wife, right? So we're working on improving his diurnal rhythms because she has to be on a ventilator at night. So if her trach alarm goes off, his sleep is very disrupted. So obviously we can't change that for him. But what we can change for him is getting him off screens at night, getting deeper, more restorative sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. when you do the most regenerating. And we're cleaning out all the pathogens in his gut. He has a ton of dysbiosis, but he wasn't consistent in his supplementation. So we sat on the phone. I had him set timers on his phone, we sat on Zoom. I had him set timers for alarms on his phone to go off when he needed to take his supplements. And then we went on Amazon together and I picked out supplement cases for him to organize his supplements. So sometimes it's just the simple things that make the biggest impact. Supplements are always better in your body than in the bottle.
Right.
So if you're not remembering to take them, I can't help you there. So, but the basics, the foundations, people are so scared of like eating too many carbs. They think they're getting fat. I'm like, why don't you try actually going to bed at a decent hour?
Right.
That's what's making you fat, is just too little quality sleep and too little sleep in general. Not enough downtime, too much fight or flight.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I love it. So, do you ever see any myths around fertility and hormones? Like, what are some things that you hear and you're just like, that's not really true?
Oh, the biggest myth I hear is that the pill is a great way to treat PCOS.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. For those of you who have PCOS, you know what I'm talking about, because you're struggling to ovulate and the pill suppresses ovulation. Why is ovulation important? Because you need robust progesterone in order to ovulate. Okay. Why is progesterone important? Well, progesterone is a precursor to GABA. That's gamma aminobutyric acid. This is a very calming neurotransmitter that helps prevent anxiety, that helps you have a good night's sleep, that helps you feel calm and happy, and that helps you stay lean. So you want to make sure that you're not bottoming out your progesterone taking the pill. That's a huge one. And I treat a lot of people who've been on birth control, either the pill or the IUDs or the Nuva rings for 15 to 20 years before they get pregnant, right? And the hormones are so rock bottom. They've been suppressed for so long, your body stops producing them. So I have to put women on hormone replenishment. I don't want to call it replacement because they're not in menopause, but we do have to replenish hormones and mimic, the body's natural rhythms in menstruating women who can't get it back.
For sure. And I see that one a lot too. The pill, we can have a whole show on the birth control pill, and it doesn't like fix your cycle or balance your hormones. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It just pauses it. I always tell clients it's like putting a dam up in front of a waterfall of your hormones. And as soon as that dam comes off, those hormones are going to come back and you're going to be like, oh.
That's right.
Totally. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors. We're going to come back and talk more practical tips around diet and lifestyle for hormones and overall women's health. So we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan.
Hey, Esther, welcome back.
Thanks, Kayla.
So let's dive into some practical tips and things people can start doing today to optimize their hormones and their overall health. Yeah. So talk to me about diet and nutrition. What should that look like? What are maybe 3 or 4 things we should be eating to help us balance our hormones?
So first of all, to really optimize your egg quality, you always want rich fatty acids. Okay. So that's a mixture of saturated and unsaturated from just the best quality sources. So I'm going to tell you something crazy, but fish eggs like caviar is a great source of essential fatty acids. Egg yolks have choline, which is also good for brain focus. And most of the fat in egg yolks is actually monounsaturated. Olives and olive oil, and olives are so good. They're actually a prebiotic food. So olives are amazing for you. Butter from grass-fed cows, coconut oil and avocado oil, raw nuts and seeds and nut butters and tahini. All of those are incredibly, and avocados, of course. So all of those are incredibly rich in monounsaturated fats, omegas, some 3s and 6s and 9s. And then of course, like you want fats from cold water fatty fish, like wild Alaskan salmon, or, I'm totally blanking, herring, mackerel. All of those are sardines. Those are really great in omega-3s. And then, meats from animals raised on pasture are not only a great source of good quality saturated fats, but they also are a source of omega-3s, and they're also a source of zinc, B12, iron, and ferritin. And a lot of people I see with thyroid issues have low ferritin and are not getting enough protein and good quality iron. And so meat is really vilified right now. It's really, there's a huge movement, even in Europe, which really disturbed me, on plant-based nutrients. Okay. And I speak to and see people who are not eating a lot of meat, and I see tremendous hormone and nutrient imbalances. So if you're worried about cruelty, listen, I hate the factory farming of animals. I think it's cruel and inhumane. But what's wonderful is finding meat that is regeneratively raised, right? Where regenerative agriculture is a term. And Diana Rogers is a dietitian who is like the bomb.com on this. She wrote a book and made a documentary called Sacred Cow. And she has a whole podcast called Sustainable Dish. So, but what Diana has really taught me is that, you know, the carbon emissions that we're seeing in the world it's maybe 1 or 2% from livestock. When livestock are out in the fields and stomping the manure back into the soil, they're recapturing carbon. So it's not released into the air. And we need, you know, we have a beautiful symbiotic relationship with livestock and our planet, and regenerating the soil and putting nutrients in and making it a rich source of life for ourselves. So meats are also really important as a very good fat source as well.
And I'm a big fan of meat. You know, I talk to my clients all the time about this. They're like, well, should I be vegetarian? Should I be plant-based? I'm like, no, you need all of these vitamins, minerals, iron, zinc, all of that you just mentioned.
Yes.
So very, very important. And
very
meat's
important.
delicious. Let's not forget that. Oh my gosh, there's nothing better than a really good steak or some, you know, cold water fish. It's delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And liver is another long forgotten source of protein and essential fat. So, you know, you can buy liver from pastured animals raised on pasture, and it's absolutely delicious. Or there's a company I know of, it's called Force of Nature Meats, and they sell ground beef with ground heart and liver in it. So it's like 5 or 10%. But what we don't realize, what people forget, you know, we're not really connected to our food, right? We're not hanging out with the cows in the field, raising them and then slaughtering them and butchering them ourselves, right? We just buy them in these meat packages. We're not connecting that piece of meat to an actual animal. It's raised on pasture in the planet. But, you know, back in our hunter-gatherer days, right, we didn't actually eat the muscle and meat. We ate the organs. So, and there's a great cookbook on that. It's called It Takes Guts. It's from my colleague, Ashley Van Houten. So, and it's how to cook and eat organ meats, because organ meats have some of the most essential nutrients. You know, when we were hunter-gatherers, the most prized hunt was the heart of the animal, because that had all the CoQ10 in it, right? And fueled our mitochondria and replenished our stores of, you know, that were exhausted from the hunt, or, you know, or liver for a good source of iron, right? So we really want to make sure that we're not throwing away the baby with the bathwater. Or if you make bone broth, you make, you know, chicken stock from chicken feet, or beef from, you know, knuckle and neck bones, the really big bones, and you eat the marrow too. So all of that is really an important part of fertility and nourishing our egg quality.
I love it. Yeah, I was going to say that's not just important for hormones. It's important for fertility, for eggs, for sperm, all of it. All of those are cells. And so they need that mitochondria. They need that energy. So yeah.
That's right. And then of course there's oysters, which are a great source of zinc as well. But red meat and oysters are total aphrodisiac. I have my men eat a lot of them. And then raw nuts and seeds, because those have tons of trace minerals and some omega-3s and zinc. So those are another great source of nutrients for egg quality, for fertility. All of those are great.
And so is there any foods we should stay away from?
Yeah, I'd like you to stay away from the really pro-inflammatory toxic fats. So things that are man-made. Canola oil, and yes, that is man-made. Even if it says it's organic, it's still a chemical wash of processed gunk. So margarine, anything with trans fats, Crisco, hydrogenated oils, but also like sunflower seed, soybean oil, cottonseed, corn oil. All of those are really pro-inflammatory and will displace essential fatty acids at the cellular level. So it can take like a year or two. Once you stop eating all the fried food and junk, it takes about a year or two to kind of clean that out of your system. But you can optimize your cellular health with fatty acids by taking lots of omega-3s. I like to rotate through, right? Like you could do krill oil, you can do anchovy oil, you can do wild Alaskan salmon oil in the summer. And then in the winter, I love to recommend cod liver oil because that's a great source of vitamin A and D and is great for immune function. It's great for COVID. All of those things are very, very beneficial.
I love it. And so you talk about you help women lose stubborn belly fat. How can we do that?
Yeah. It starts with your lifestyle. No diet in the world is going to bust up stubborn belly fat if your stress is out of control, if you're not sleeping, if you're not tending to your emotional health, if you're overeating too much of the unhealthy foods, and if you're really, really sedentary. Okay. One of the most useful and simple exercises that you can do to bust up stubborn belly fat is walking, because walking lowers cortisol, it supports your adrenal function, and it burns fat, and it requires a pair of shoes. I mean, I don't care if you're in your Birkenstocks or you're in sneakers, just move. And people who aren't losing weight are usually those who are sitting all day long and not getting up, or standing while they work, or exercising throughout the day, small walks here and there. So you really do need to move your body. In terms of diet, with stubborn belly fat, right? You want to start a good detox. So I wrote a lovely book. It's called Cavewomen Don't Get Fat.
I love that.
And this has a whole Cavewomen detox program in it, and it's available on my site too. You can download a free Cavewomen Detox Jumpstart book at estherblum.com. But, I have people do a nice 2-week detox and you can do this for up to a month. You can do it until you reach your goal weight, really, where you're eating unlimited protein. You're having unlimited fruit and vegetables, heavier on the vegetables than the fruit. And you're eating some quality fats, but you're not having any starches or grains. So no rice or potatoes or pasta or bread or anything like that. Then after 2 weeks, you start to slowly add in, you find your unique carb tolerance. Okay. And fruits do have carbs, but most people are not binging out and eating a whole watermelon. They'll have a cup of berries or a banana, and no, bananas do not make you fat, guys. I promise. They're actually pretty low in carbs. I think it's like 17 grams for a whole banana. It's not a ton. So, you want to slowly add in a half a cup of cooked starch per day from a whole food source, like a quinoa, a sweet potato, a white potato, lentils or beans if you tolerate lectins, if you don't have an issue with those. And then you can increase. So you see how you do after a week. If you're still losing weight, not losing weight, but if you're still losing weight, you can add another half a cup per week. So then you're serving as a cup per day. Most people tend to tolerate 1 to 1.5 cups of starch per day. Now, some people are probably listening to this and thinking, there's no way I'm ever going to eat that many carbs and still lose weight. But I'm here to tell you that's actually another big myth, because going low carb, especially for women, works great initially, and keto can work great for like hot flashes or stubborn belly fat initially. But what happens after 3 months is people are sick of eating all that fat and they can't even look at a piece of bacon or cheese.
Right.
Number two, the body starts to revolt. Okay. And your thyroid starts to shut down because you need carbohydrates to convert T4 to the active form of T3. You need it to sleep. You need it to feel less irritable, and you need it to feel like a human being. So, and I treat women in menopause who eat a decent amount of carbs per day. And I treat women with PCOS who can eat carbs during the day too. So the goal is, you want more protein than carbs. You want your ratios to be higher. But you can absolutely eat some of the good carbs and they can be beneficial, especially if you're someone who is stubborn, who has struggled with insomnia, right? And you have your carbs at night, it can really facilitate a good night's sleep. So having carbs that facilitate sleep will actually have a more favorable metabolic effect than having a low carb diet, but not sleeping well during the night. So you really have to, balance that all out. But some people lose more weight when I increase their carbs and calories because they were under eating before.
I love that. And I find that too in my practice. I have clients say to me, I'm eating more than I ever have and I'm losing weight. How is this possible? And I'm like, hello, this is amazing.
You've been under eating.
Yes. And I find too that, I like to encourage my clients, like what you said, let's eat more fat and protein and eat those good, healthy carbs. And it's all about balance, where I find a lot of people are doing no carbs. They're doing way too much protein and not enough fat. So yeah. I love it. So let's talk about stress. How does stress play into all of this?
So, I look at a lot of cortisol curves in my practice. So cortisol is like Goldilocks. You kind of want to get it just right. Some is good, too much is not good, and too little is not good either. So cortisol is a stress hormone that tends to, when it's present in excess amounts and for long periods of time, tends to eat up muscle and store your food as fat, especially around your midsection, right? You get a muffin top and then turns into a cake top. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't button up my pants anymore or feel comfortable when I do. So you want to make sure that your cortisol levels are balanced and you have a healthy amount of adrenal output. Okay. So if your cortisol is too high, I like to have people do lifestyle management, right? Some deep breathing. Breathing is free, guys. Doesn't cost any money. You don't got to take a pill, 10 minutes of deep breathing at night lowers cortisol. It's what I do every night. For those of you who don't know, either box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. So box breathing is inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And 4-7-8 breathing is you inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. So either way, you can Google box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. You do that for 10 minutes a night. You're stimulating your vagus nerve at that point. Humming and singing are good for vagus nerve stimulation too, but the vagus nerve, really has a lot to do with your stress response and your sleep. So, and lowering your cortisol. So you want to stimulate that vagus nerve with some good old fashioned deep breathing. Lower your cortisol. If your cortisol is really, really rock bottom, then you want to build it up and take some really nice adaptogenic herbs. And licorice is one of my favorites because it will raise and sustain cortisol so you can get a more normal curve. A good healthy cortisol curve should come up in the morning, peak midday, and then slowly start to fall through the afternoon, evening so that you can actually fall asleep at night. And then it rises in the morning to get you up out of bed. So, I look at all sorts of cortisol curves and adapt accordingly. Really important for stress management, but also it's important for energy. If you're really struggling with low energy, you got to manage your cortisol and stress. Cause what you can, the checks, you write in your 20s, your body can cash usually a lot better than the ones in your 40s and 50s. Yes. Your resiliency wears out and your warranty parts expire.
Yes, for sure. I love it. Well, I could talk about this all day, but we do have to wrap up. So tell everybody where can they find you, or can they find your books? And if you have a little freebie you want to share, let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So you can go to my handle on Instagram is Gorgeous Esther. Because my first book was Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous. So Gorgeous Esther. And you can go to my website, estherblum.com. You can download my free Crush Your Cravings 3-part video training series that has an ebook at the end. You can go to estherblum.com/cravings if you want the direct link. But I have lots of free ebooks. And then for 4 of your listeners, I did open up my calendar. If people want a 30-minute consultation, they're struggling with hormones, they're struggling with menopause, they're struggling with stubborn body fat, they can go there. You go to estherblum.com/call.
I love it. And we'll
troubleshoot.
Yes, we're going to put all that in the show notes so everybody can find all the things. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Kayla.
Yes. So tell us if you have any final thoughts, any words of encouragement, anything you want to leave us with.
Yeah. There's very little in you that cannot be fixed, right? I always say I can't reverse type 1 diabetes yet, and I can't reverse amputations. Aside from that, most of what's in your body is reversible. Your health is fixable. And just because you haven't been diagnosed or treated properly, it just means you still need to do more testing and find the right practitioner to work with you. So find the right practitioner that is going to listen to you, do the appropriate testing, or refer you to someone who does. And you can get on with your life. I myself have come back from the most horrible of horrible health issues. I'm currently clearing out Lyme and mold. I'm fully functioning human in spite of all of that. And so if I can do it, you can certainly do it for sure.
For sure. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Esther. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye.
Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.